Roald Dahl was a British writer who was born in Llandaff, Wales on September 13, 1916, and lived in England for most of his life. One of his most well-known short stories, Lamb to the Slaughter, was inspired by a dinner party which his friends, Ian Fleming, complained about after consuming an unappetizing leg of lamb. The short story was written in 1953, where Dahl masterfully utilizes Mary Maloney's dynamic character from a seemingly calm and loving housewife, subverting societal expectations by employing dramatic irony. Dahl develops the theme of gender roles and the hidden power dynamics in marriage to build tension and heighten suspense as readers become aware of Mary's true intentions. From this moment alone, readers absorb Mary's calculated actions after her husband had revealed a truth to her, which consume her in rage and disbelief. As the horrifying events begin to unfold, readers are aware of the outcome that awaits her husband, as she carries the frozen leg of lamb, that the frozen leg of lamb would be used as a weapon of violence while the other characters and her own husband remains oblivious, contrasting Mary's sudden transformation from a submissive housewife to the woman who murdered her husband, which reveals the truth of societal expectations in a marriage as a woman who is expected to be a dutiful wife. Being a widow is seen as shameful in society. Through Mary's success in deceiving the policeman to avoid punishment, it emphasizes the societal pressure married women face. Lamb to the Slaughter is unique because of the protagonist's violent scheme, while the characters remain oblivious of Mary's deception, which creates a shocking tone. The police officers searching for the murder weapon ironically consumed the very tool Mary used to commit the crime. My first point being, Mary's genuine shock and raw display of emotion is shown as she plays out her deception, preparing to play out the role of the loving wife trying to cook supper for her husband, as evidenced by the phrase, "She rehearsed it several times more, then she ran downstairs, took her coat, and went out the back door, down the garden, into the street." This exchange shows that Mary is conscious of the punishment of murder, and to appear innocent, she must still play the role of the caring housewife. Ultimately, the characters are all fooled by Mary's act, as she uses her public image through the reputation of being a devoted housewife to manipulate the wider public, concealing her fear of being caught behind the crime, as Mary successfully covers up her guilt through her interaction with the cashier Sam that seemed normal. However, readers know otherwise, that what lies underneath Mary's current fragile state is that she is a woman capable of perfectly orchestrating the entire scheme and purposely placing the leg of lamb in the oven and using her grief to gain sympathy from the policeman to accept her offers of whiskey. In the end, serving the very leg of lamb, which symbolizes domesticity, ironically used as the murder weapon to the clueless police officers, showing that Mary had successfully escaped punishment and the public humiliation of the blame of being divorced. The scene depicting Patrick Maloney's death underscores the nature of societal pressure and gender roles in marriage, with Patrick, who is unappreciative of Mary's longing for him and constant care, while Patrick's honest revelation influences Mary's actions. Patrick was visibly already trying to distance himself from Mary. Originally, Mary's intended use of the meat she finds in the freezer is to make supper for her husband, which is evident when Mary states that there's plenty of meat and stuff in the freezer, and you can have it right here and not even move out of the chair. My analysis is that Mary genuinely loved her husband and was trying to fulfill the dutiful task of being a housewife, fulfilling the societal expectations back then, which contradicts the true purpose of the leg of lamb and foreshadows its use in the story instead to kill her husband. Mary's act of frustration through killing her husband surprises readers as she goes against the traditional norms and gender roles, and Mary's deception starts with the realization of the severity of what she has done as she reflects to the role that's depicted of a housewife. My next evidence is when Mary stood for a while blinking at the body, still holding the ridiculous piece of meat tied with both hands. From this piece of evidence, it can be analyzed that Mary still has not fully grasped what she had just committed, and the vivid imagery in the text illustrates Mary's state of shock as she struggles to process the murder she had just committed. However, Mary is aware that in the society she is living in, she must act fast. The dramatic irony is very clear from the beginning until the end, as readers are aware of how Mary's husband really died throughout the deception. And situational irony is also used when the detectives unknowingly consume the evidence that links Mary to the crime. Similar to the short story The Sniper, where dehumanization is shown when the protagonist prioritizes his safety, leading him to engage in acts of violence. And both protagonists are aware of the societal expectations, whether through the gender roles in marriage or the brutality of war, contrasting Mary's external impression and her inner knowledge that only the readers are aware of, creating a sense of dramatic irony. Overall, Roald Dahl's Lamb to the Slaughter develops the theme of how gender role plays a role in societal pressures in marriage. Through dramatic irony, Dahl illustrates the success of Mary's deception with her goals to avoiding facing social discrimination of being a widow from a divorced marriage. This shapes Mary's character as tensions increase when Mary kills her husband and masterfully orchestrates her interactions to eventually lead up to the ironic consumption of the murder weapon, encouraging readers to think about how societal expectations shape an individual's actions and the lengths people may go to defy them. Thank you.
Is there another piece of evidence that can support your global issue alongside the literary technique?
Another piece of evidence would be when specifically Mary's interaction with Sam, the shopkeeper, as she is currently also struggling with grief, but because she knows that she has to act as a devoted housewife, because of the gender roles that exist, she has to act as if she was cooking supper for her husband, as that's what a caring housewife would do. So she has to fulfill that role. So I feel like that develops the global issue.
So, how does Mary's character develop throughout the story?
Her character develops when she was a caring housewife and suddenly turns to a very submissive and turns into like a murderer, which readers would never expect, which changes the tone of the story and gives a dramatic plot twist and shows how Mary was capable of using and manipulating the policemen through the gender role that she has as a woman. So I think that's how Mary's character develops, as she's a very dynamic character. Thank you.